How do you nail the perfect Sweet 16 photo shoot?
I've never done one, so we're gonna find out together.
You have only done your husband's photo shoot. I'm your husband.
Wow.
I'm her husband.
He's my husband.
Okay, so what kind of style of photo shoot have you then done? Like where does my category of photos live?
I do a lot of lifestyle, not particularly portrait, if that makes sense. Because portrait means you're setting the person in a position, and I don't really set people.
Okay, so you don't deal a lot with posing people.
Yeah, I don't pose people, so that's why I don't consider what I do portrait.
Okay, so then the question I wanted to ask you is about creative posing. So if you are a lifestyle photographer, if that's like where your skills lie, how do you creatively pose people? Because even when you're doing my photo shoot, you're still posing me.
Right, and
but
I
it's
ask you
not-
to do a natural activity.
So talk about that.
I usually ask the person who's being shot to do a specific movement or ask them to do something that's natural to them. So if I want them to smile and like have a natural smile, I actually sometimes tell them something funny before and have them laugh, telling people like, do this or this and then smile. It's not how that goes. I can't pose a person like that. So I'm like, if you were to have somebody chasing you, run. And then that's what happens.
Okay, so what that reads to me is that that's how you creatively pose people.
Right.
Is you
I come up with a
scenarios.
situation, a story, or a scenario that I would have them give me your most natural reaction to this type of thing. And that's how I would get them to pose. And I guess that's how I get my poses.
That's
creative
how
style.
You creatively pose people. So then, when you are doing lifestyle photography, how do you manage the lighting? How do you light those situations? What's your process?
So because I'm such a lifestyle photographer in that aspect, I don't use a lot of exterior lighting.
What do you mean exterior lighting?
I don't add lighting to a situation.
So
I just
you
use
rely
the
on natural
interior or
lighting.
the natural lighting, the exterior lights of the sky, of the sun. You know, if it's darker outside, I change the ISO on my camera and the exposure and everything, the aperture. I do that, and then I try to use as the least amount of added lights.
You just did a restaurant photo shoot, but it was lifestyle, it was interior. How did you manage to do that?
So I had two lights. I had a key light and a backlight, basically. And I know usually it's a 3-light setup, but because there was a window, I used the light from the window to give me a different, to be my third light.
So when you're inside, you use a combination of natural lighting and your own added lights.
Based off of the time of the day, if it's a nighttime shoot, obviously it's harder for me to do photos outside at night, but I do my best. And then I've actually not done any nighttime exterior shoots, so I don't have that problem. And if I did an interior nighttime shoot, I use the lights that are in the house already, not so much added lights.
Yeah, so I'm a cinematographer for video production, and I live on crafting my own lights. So it fascinates me what she's able to do with natural lights. With that said,
but because I don't use lights, it's hard for me to find lights when I have to use them, how to make them work.
And that's where she usually drags me along, because usually when she does photo shoots, I'm like, go do your thing. But then when she really has to light the situation, she's like, husband, come here. When you're doing natural lifestyle photography, and now you're doing a Sweet 16 and you're combining both of those, how do you deal with like making adjustments, the posing, the lighting? Like, how do you bring all of that together?
So because I have to tell everybody prior to, when I'm doing photos, do not have an expectation of what you think you're going to get from me. And don't get me wrong, all the photos I come up with are very good photos.
Yeah, of course.
But because people have a predisposed expectation, they are assuming that they're going to get what they've seen in Pinterest or online or somewhere they've already pre-expose themselves to a situation that they would like to see of themselves. When I look at the person and I see what they do in the environment that I've decided that they're going to be in, then if it doesn't fit, then I move them to a different location in that same area, just until I feel or see the fit that fits that person.
So how do you handle the post-production editing of your photos and then the final delivery?
So, because it's not even that I don't like to edit, it's just that my husband gave me one big key information when I first started taking photos. He said, if they're so good, you don't have to edit much. My goal was to make every photo that I give to him, because he edits them, so good that the editing is so light.
Her photos, I used to spend hours to edit. Now, because she's become so good, it takes me like 30 minutes to edit like 50 to 100 photos.
Right, so the goal is for me to take as many quality photos that I can without having to add or take away anything that's already naturally in that photo.
What advice would you give to any photographer who is starting from where you started? You know you have a talent and you have a passion for it, but you don't know where to start. What would you tell them? How would they start?
Taking pictures all the time. I always took pictures, and I was always the one taking pictures, not the one always in the pictures per se.
Take photos,
Don't
whatever
stop.
means you have,
Right,
and
just
don't
take-
stop until you keep growing to where you eventually want to be.
Right. I mean, well, there's no where you want to be eventually, because every time you get to where you think you want to be, you'll want to go further.